Okay, so basically I'm just feeling a little lazy by this time, but now that I've taken control over it, I am now going to show you the making of my Tomy Toad's Adventure video, an episode that recreates the original Toad's Adventure episode from the season 18 of Thomas and Friends. So it's a very big reenactment that I've done so far because of the outside action and the amazing facial expressions. I knew that you guys were going to be asking me some many different questions that I'm going to have to answer, and so hopefully this video will answer them all. So what's going to happen is I'm going to show you the raw takes. I'm going to show you the raw footage on where I make mistakes and redo them over again. And I'm also going to show you some clips that couldn't make it to the final film, but they were in the final edit. They just didn't make it due to programming errors. I mean, my video just has so much still images to hold on to that while I was saving it, it just couldn't handle them all at once. But even though some clips never made it, I decided that I didn't care and just let what was saved go into the internet. But anyway, let's get started. So here we have the raw footage where you see here I'm just making a few mistakes and just doing it over and over. You just can't expect your toys to do the way you want them to, and so yeah, I'm just pushing them back with my hands and doing it all over again till you get it right. For the parts that take place outside, they take place in my backyard and our back porch. And by the way, our back porch has been around since October 2013, and most of my Thomas reenactments take place there, like Halloween and Too Hot for Thomas. So there goes James just going over the railing, and I'm just jerking him and the trucks so it looks like they're going over a big bump. And notice that all the trucks that James is pulling are all blue. The reason why is because that I figure it would help reflect the Thomas's New Trucks episode. In it, James gets some new trucks, and all of them are blue. And Thomas gets new trucks as well, and they're all green. And so James is pretty much pulling his brand new trucks in, even though he doesn't pull his new trucks in the original Toad's Adventure episode, when you're reenacting an episode, sometimes it's just great to have a little fun, including some cameos and doing any camera shot you want and other things. The coal inside the trucks are just little black rocks that started out as huge chunks of pavement that have been smashed into little tiny bits with a hammer. And so those little my fake coal has been around since 2010, I think. But I first used them in my Thomas Percy and the Coal RWS video, where I recreate the original Railway Series version of, the one written by Christopher Audrey. I've also used my fake coal in my Trouble on the Tracks reenactment video, and I do plan to use them in future videos one day. So there goes James just traveling along the grass and towards the Action Canyon, which represents Gordon's Hill, and he gets stuck. And of course, we all know that the trains can't go up the Action Canyon waterfall all on themselves, so you just got to use some string. And so that's what I'm doing here, and James gets stuck, and I'm just pushing him back and try again. I was going to use a toy log for the branch that James goes over, but when I found a stick lying on the ground, I figured, you know what? Why not use a real stick? That'd be a great idea. And so I did. So here is just me jerking Toad with another stick that I found on the ground. Our back porch has a bunch of bars that are, they have, I think, a 5-inch space in between them, but the spaces are wide enough for me to fit my arm right through while I'm holding the stick, and so I reach up right behind Toad and use the stick, and I'm just jerking him off. Just jerking him several times until I can decide which one will go into the final film. I'm also blowing on him to get him back on the rails when he gets stuck after jerking him. So, how long did it take for me to film the outdoor shots? Well, it depended on how much time I had and my lazy level. I mean, it took me about 2 days from start to finish on that part where Toad's adventure occurs. I was super lazy on day 1. I wanted to do it all on one day just to get them out of the way. But it was hot outside, and there were little tiny bugs surrounding me and stuff. And then finally, I actually just went ballistic. Literally, I was cursing and destroying sticks and throwing rocks on the ground. The last thing I wanted to do was delete my outside footage and start the scene all over again. But I knew that I just couldn't accept it, so I pushed on. So yeah, it was a bad day of filming. But on day 2, it was much better. I also had a cardboard box with all my things waiting for me to use them in the scene. You just never see the box because it's completely out of camera shot. So this is just one of the clips that never made it to the final film. This is where where Toad is heading towards Thomas, and Thomas is puffing toward him at the same time. So I just got I'm getting ready to push him. I'm waiting till Thomas gets within camera range. And he's getting close to the camera, and then I push. Toad is going down, and gravity is what makes it all happen. But sadly, it never made it because of computer troubles and programming errors. This is another shot that never made it. This is when a shot of James heading towards the branch before he goes over it. In my outside shots, I also used some clips from the original Toad's Adventure episode. They're the ones that take place inside one of the coaches that Thomas is pulling. To prevent copyright strikes, I've added some effects in Windows Movie Maker, like film grain and decreasing the lightness. But before I knew it, I forgot to put all those effects on one of them. But thankfully the video didn't got any copyright strikes yet. Finally, let me tell you this. I won't do some outside shots for all my upcoming videos, but sometimes I will. But I'm not going to do a video where everything takes place outside like Enterprising Engine 93 does. If you haven't heard of him, he makes amazing Thomas episodes using some wooden railway trains, and they all take place in the outdoors. But some of my future videos will have some outside shots, just not all of them and not entirely. But yeah, that's how it goes. So once I got all my all the clips I need, I just load them up on a new folder in my files, and once they're ready to go on Windows Movie Maker, I I put one of them in there, and then all of a sudden, where'd it go? It didn't show up. There's no video or sound there. It's been that way ever since I've gotten my new video camera, but thankfully I do have a way to solve that problem. What I do in that situation is I play the clip on Windows Media Player, then I get HyperCam 2, I create a region, which is the recording box on where the program records on the computer, and then I hit record, and HyperCam 2 just basically records the clip playing on Windows Media Player. It's kind of a mess, but it solves the problem. And so I do the same thing to all the clips, and there they go. They're right there on my editing system. So now here we have a time-lapse video of me creating one of the facial expressions on Oliver that you see in the final film, simply by using MS Paint, the same program that I used to create Tank Engine Chat and Friends. So I'm just drawing on the pictures, and I got the same color as the skin, and just drawing it right over the original mouth, and creating a black line in smiles or frowns or in many different types of mouth shapes, and then using two white circles with a black outline, and then two black circles on each one, and there you go. That's the eyes. The way I animate the eyes and mouths is the same way I do in Tank Engine Chat and Friends. Sometimes they're made of 2 frames, and sometimes they're made of 3 frames. Like when I make the mouths, sometimes it's as simple as mouth close, mouth open, but sometimes it goes like this. Frame 1, mouth closed. Frame 2, mouth halfway open, and frame 3, mouth fully open. For the eyes, it's sometimes it's as simple as eyes open and eyes closed, but sometimes made of multiple frames, like frame 1, eyes open, frame 2, eyelids are closing, frame 3, eyelids halfway closed, and then frame 4, eyes close, and then it's frame 3, frame 2, frame 1. And that's basically how the eyes are animated. And once all the facial expressions are done, I just make them lip synced to the rhythm of the words in which the character is speaking in the original episode. The character also has to have a different facial expression to represent the feelings that they have of what's going on in the episode. So how do I put Sir Topham Hatt in the coach? Well, simply by using the Select tool in MS Paint. The Select tool has 2 options. Option 1, a square cut. Option 2, an any shape cut. The square option is where you just create a square or rectangle cookie cutter cut. So I'm just using the any shape cut option, and I'm just tracing around half of the outline of Sir Topham Hatt. And once it's complete, I just copy it and then paste it onto the still picture with the coach, and there he is. And of course, he's too big, and so I have to shrink him down to the correct size, and then trace his facial expressions on his face, and there you go. That's how I did it. The selection tool is the same thing that I use to put the original facial expressions on the characters. When I want to use some close-up shots, I use the square option in the select tool, and I just do a square shot that's deeper in, and then I click on the crop button, and there you go, a close-up. here we have another trick that I use in Windows Movie Maker, in which I've been using ever since one of my Thomas Toy Story 2 parodies, and that is when the moving footage is playing and then it freezes and the facial expressions from MS Paint appears on the character. How do I do it? Well, take this clip with Stephanie in it. You know, the Stephanie cameo. So once I put the clip in the timeline, I play the clip and then I pause at the moment where I want Stephanie to stop, and then I click on split, then I click on take a photo, I give my photo a name, then I save it, and there's my a still image that I can now draw on in MS Paint. And once I create the facial expression on Stephanie, I save it, and then I put it back in the timeline. And then once I play it all back, it actually looks as if Stephanie is really stopping on his own, even though it's just a clip where Stephanie is just puffing right past the camera. And here's James and Toad, and I'm doing the same process with it. I'm just splitting part of the clip and taking a photo, and then drawing some MS Paint facial expressions on them, and some mouth movements, and saving each one. And then after lip syncing them to the words, I play the part where Oliver moves in, and then there they are, they're back again. And finally, last but not least, here is a brand new trick that I just discovered, and this video was my very first attempt on doing it. It's on a program called PMB. I don't know what it's what it means, but it's been here ever since I got my new camera. Take a look at this still image. Notice how dark and dull it looks because it's an image that I've taken inside my room. But not anymore. Thanks to PMB, I make it look much clearer and brighter and crisper. So here's how it's done. In PMB, you can adjust the brightness and the darkness and the colors in it. So I'm just turning up the brightness and then I just save it. And there we go. It's perfect looking for the final film. You see, every still image I take in my room is often has shadows and darkness and stuff because it depends on the lighting inside the room itself. It's never perfect. But PMB has solved the problem, and I guess I'm going to use PMB for my future remakes from now on. For the still images that take place in the outdoors, I don't need to use PMB at all because the sunlight helps makes the characters look much better than in my room. Well, I guess that's all I have to show you. That is basically how I make my own Thomas episode reenactments. How long does it take? Well, it depends on my lazy level and my outside schedule and stuff. In about 2 weeks from today, my new part-time job at TJ Maxx is going to start. I'm only going to be working 3 days a week every morning, so I don't think it's going to be that much of a problem. Not only is the first day of my part-time job getting close, but somewhere else in October, my parents and I are going to go on a vacation to Panama City Beach. We're going to stay in a hotel for about a week and stroll along the beach and go swimming in a swimming pool and possibly go bowling and a few other things. It's going to be a great vacation. And believe it or not, I've actually been there before when I was about 2 years old. It's been 18 years ago and I'm still remembering that day. This year is basically going to be the second time I go to Panama City Beach. Unbelievable, isn't it? In conclusion, I would like to thank you all for all your time and your patience, because all that matters is that that all that hard work has paid off from all your support, your comments, and everything else. So thank you once again. And if you enjoyed both this behind the scenes video and the Tomy Toad's Adventure video, in which I have made myself, then don't forget to give them both a thumbs up. If you already did, then give yourself a high five. This is your upcoming TJ Maxx employee saying opposite of hello, which means I am saying goodbye for now, and thanks again for watching.